3 people? Are you seen? Were you seen in there?
Yeah.
Okay. A letter can be simple. It can be a thank you card. It can be you're invited. But what if you got a letter from a serial killer? What serial killer am I speaking of? Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper was an important piece of horrifying history. He brutally murdered and messed with authority, and he was never caught. In this, I'm not going to solve the murder or spend a whole lot of time on minor details. My goal is to share with you the events that took place in the Whitechapel district of London during 1888. In this, it is important to cover who was killed, what he did to mess with authority, and what they thought or who they thought could have been the murderer, according to the Whitechapel Society and other historians. First, Mary Ann Nichols. She was murdered on August 31st, 1888. There is some discrepancies. There could have been somebody else as the first victim, but this is for sure the first victim. Second, Annie Chapman, aka Dark Annie. She was the most ruthless of the 5 victims that he had claimed. Surprising that nobody else heard her. And she was killed on September 8th. Then there was the double murder, Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes on September 30th. So 2 murders within one night. Then the 5th and the most gruesome victim, Mary Jane Kelly, on November 9th, which was weird that it had taken him so long to murder again. And this one was the most renowned of the murders. He had actually got her inside a home and was able to do way worse things. Things that he did to these women was first slit their throat and let them bleed out. Then something that was very crazy was that all of their abdomens had been ripped open and they had multiple stab wounds throughout their entire body. Next, some of the evidence left behind, which was never helpful. In one of the murder scenes, there had been an apron left behind, used by local butchers and I guess hunters in the area, so which led them to think that possibly it could have been a butcher, which still was not helpful. Another piece of evidence was writing on the wall, which either could have been misspelled but it said something about Judas. And they were thinking maybe it was saying something about Jews, but they were never sure. And the police had washed it away before any investigators could actually come. So that's a discrepancy, thinking maybe it was a royal. Also, one of the things that was crazy about Jack the Ripper is that he had written letters to the authorities. This is where he starts to mess with authorities. And from Jack the Ripper, the first American serial killer, here's the most famous letter he had written. Dear boss, I keep hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me yet. I have laughed when they took So Clever and talked about me on the right track. And that's just part of the letter, but it is the most famous and the most brutal. Now, they haven't caught him, but they have possible ideas of suspects, like Prince Albert Victor. Oh, he was riddled with syphilis, so he had gone crazy and was in an institution, along with Aaron Kaminsky. Now, there are several people that it could have been, but they never were able to figure it out. So what if a serial killer had written you a letter?